So good morning, Ian. Ian Hongell, Chief Winemaker, Torbreck Wines, Barossa Valley. Great to have you online, and welcome to The Real Review, and congratulations on Torbreck being one of our top wineries for the year for 2022.
Thanks, Huon. Fantastic to be part of it and to be recognised for what we're doing.
Terrific. So we've got a bottle and a glass here, and that wine just happens to be the 2020 Torbreck the Stedding. Is that one of your sort of flagships or your bread and butter wines? How would you describe that?
Oh, look, Stedding's a really important wine for us. It was one of the two wines that started the brand off back in '94. And look, what it really does is capture the history of Barossa, Grenache, Mataro and Shiraz in a single bottle. So to me, it's intrinsically sort of part of the community's fabric of viticulture. And it's really impressive to be able to sort of work with such old vineyards and vineyards that are quite unique and different, and that when they come together to make this blend, which I might add is it's more of a medium-bodied style wine for what Torbreck may be well known for, and I think that's a nice point of difference when you actually take a glass of this wine.
That's what I love about this wine. It's very drinkable as soon as it's released. You don't have to wait too long for it, although I'm sure it will age beautifully. Whereas, I guess you're very much a Shiraz company. You do produce a lot of statuesque Shirazes, which some of them need a bit more time and they'll be very long-lived. But this is a slurpy wine, gorgeous wine, drinkable, lovely sweet fruit and spice. Which I guess brings me, you touched on the point of vineyards and so on. Everybody says that great wine begins in the vineyard, and Torbreck, as I understand it, don't actually own an awful lot of vineyards, but you do rely on a lot of growers, don't you? How do you manage to control the quality when you take fruit from so many people?
Yeah, we have around about 45% of our own fruit grown from vineyards that we own or manage. And then we have around 30 odd growers who in many cases have been with us since the beginning of Torbreck's start. And I think the really unique thing about growers in our region are that they are family growers. They're not people doing other jobs. And so they're professional in their approach to what they're doing. They're very much about quality. And the strength of our relationships is such that we can really have really frank discussions with them if things aren't right, but also adorn them with praise when things are great, which we love to share the successes of great results off vineyards. So we tend to work in an arm's length way with our growers because I think part of the secret there is that their individual personalities, their little intrinsic ways of doing things is actually part of the point that makes those sites different to what we would necessarily do as a Torbreck system.
Well, obviously, we know that you own the Laird Vineyard, which is where your top Shiraz comes from. That's that little vineyard at Marananga, which produces the most expensive wine Torbreck makes. Are most of the vineyards that Torbreck owns in that part of the Barossa, which is the Seppelts Field, Marananga, Western Barossa area?
Yeah, so our vineyard sourcing is the two extremes of the hilltops. So running along the western ridge on the valley floor from Lindock through to Ebenezer, and then up in Eden Valley, up around Mount Mackenzie in quite stony area. So it's sort of marginal, tougher growing places, and we tend to get lower yields, a higher incidence of stone minerality in the soils that I think transfers into the wines. And it's a little bit more, I guess, the extremes of things like frost and certainly in 2022 hail, and the weather sort of elements, we tend to sort of see the edges of those a little bit more frequently. So perhaps that's got a moderating effect on yield as well, which I think is always connected quite linearly to quality.
So Ian, Torbreck produces a lot of quite expensive wines. Do you sell most of them in Australia, or do you rely on a lot of exporting these days? And I know in the past there's been quite a lot of sales to Asia when Dave Powell was involved, and they loved that style of big, rich Barossa wine. Who buys these wines now?
So globally, our sales are split pretty comfortably between Australia and the rest of the world. So we have actually a very strong home base for these wines. So, we find there's lots of fans of Torbreck in Australia who love what we do and love our style. Outside of that, we're now selling wine in another 47 countries. And that is distributed quite consistently, about the majority America and then the Europe, but then breaking down into lots of little countries. So obviously with China, that's now essentially non-existent. And we've really just been able to take that wine and distribute it to other markets in the world where the wines have been on tighter allocations.
That's an interesting point, because a lot of wineries have had to pivot out of China. Does that change your approach to producing wine at all?
No, not at all. No, the methodology of what we do. I mean, yeah, look, we make a style, and I don't really see it as very controversial. It's probably counterculture to, I guess, the dialogue in media about what is cool, if you like, if that's a word to use. But our style is classical, and it's classical for Barossa. And I think, we do something that is recognised globally as a very great example of a classical Barossa style, and that it runs across Shiraz, Grenache and Mataro. And we're acknowledged for that. And there's, a great following globally for what it is that we do. Yeah,
there has been a trend, I guess, not just in this country, but in various places, towards lighter, more elegant, more, Pinot Noir and lighter bodied wines that are more drink now. There's always going to be a place for big reds, though, isn't there?
Well, we acknowledge that too by buying a winery in New Zealand that specialises in Pinot. But look, there's a time and a place for all styles of wine, and there's certainly a time and a place for Torbreck. And I can enjoy many evenings with rooms full of people who appreciate what's in the glass in the right time of the year. And obviously they're big wines, so cooler in winter, and with richer foods. So all these things are help line up what we're trying to do.
Yeah, they're wines for a certain time and place. But what do you think your style has brought to Torbreck? From where I sit, the wines are a bit more polished than they used to be.
Yeah, look, you can't. I can come in and say we haven't changed anything, but you can't change the chef in a restaurant and not expect the dishes to have a certain change to them. Whether you perceive that as positive or negative, that's up to you. I've tried to look really hard at the things that make Torbreck wine great and elevate that and focus on that. What I've tried to do, I think, is really focus on the things that make Torbreck wines what they are, and identify those characters and really focus on trying to retain those in the wines. And then, if you like, bring some polish to the wines so that they present with more finesse. Yet they're still big wines, but the tannins are more integrated, the oak is more integrated, and the complexity is more tight in the wines. And I think that really will set the wines up to have more longevity, and they'll be more composed for their journey in their drinking window.
Yeah, I'm pleased you used the word finesse, which is seems to be a bit antithetical to the big rich wine model, but I agree, the wines do have some elegance to them, and that's lovely. I really enjoy them. Thanks very much again, Ian, for your time today, and it's great talking to you, and thanks for everything, and also congratulations again on being in the Top Wineries of Australia 2022 on The Real Review.
Thanks very much. We love to be part of it and appreciate what it is that you do.